You might spend hours staring at the intricate box art, but this isn't the version of Cobra Commander I grew up with. But what I do remember about this ruthless leader of Cobra is that the man does love an outfit change. Hey everyone, welcome back to Toy Habits, and today we are taking a very detailed look at the G.I. Joe Classified series, Snake Supreme Cobra Commander in all of his ruthless leader glory, and we will also be taking a look at a custom 3D printed throne so Cobra Commander can have a place to sit while he plots his myriad of world domination schemes. I just have to say that this is one of the most unique boxes I've come across for a G.I. Joe Classified series figure, and the box has a slipcover on it and an inner box that houses the figure. So let's first learn about the artist who created this masterpiece. This is one of the most amazing pieces of work I have seen for a G.I. Joe Classified series figure thus far, and this work of art was done by none other than Sana Takeda, an award-winning Japanese illustrator and comic book artist. Her most notable work includes illustrating for and co-creating an ongoing epic fantasy comic series called Monstrous, and she's also illustrated for Marvel with her interpretation of Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor, the X-23 series, and she was even the artist for a variant cover of one of my favorite fantasy worlds growing up when she illustrated a variant cover for the Dark Crystal comic. Now, Illustrator styles change over the years, and after finishing the comic series X-23, she wanted to rethink her art style, and according to Sana, she needed to start taking away elements that were not needed while making something new and interesting, and you can definitely see that represented in the box art here. When Sana illustrates, it's not only about the images for her, it's about the feeling of the story. So she did an amazing job capturing the raw ambition of Cobra Commander, and you can see her style clearly represented in the Supreme Cobra Commander box art, so let's take a closer look. Digging into one of my favorite parts of the slipcover is the muted color palette, which you can see here in the golds, deep reds, and blues that were used, and it gives the box art an instant classic look and feel to it. And zooming in, I love the texturing and layering that was given to the Cobra symbol just behind him, as well as how the throne was illustrated. She did a literal translation of the figure in her signature art style, and I would love to see more artists do this for the Classified series figures in the future. Now, another unique aspect to this box is the layering effects that they've used on the outer slipcover and also the inner box that is used. So if you can see me slide this up here, you can see all those elements playing off of each other. And if you look at the top of the screen, the box is cut out so you can see through it, and you can see the inner box on the inside, which I think creates a fantastic visual effect. It's also really interesting to slide this up and down, and I could spend days doing this because the art changes and it just gives little subtle differences, and all the art plays so nicely off of each other. And looking at the side of the box, both sides are the same, so let's take a look at just one side, and we'll first start off with the Cobra symbol. Now, the Cobra symbol is very intricately drawn, and if we zoom in, you can see all of the textures and all of the layers that were put into this Cobra symbol to give it a more lifelike feel. Now, since this is an element that's repeated in the box, we're going to see a larger version of this on the inner box, which I can't wait to show you. And this is another artistic element that's repeated on the side of the box, and it might look familiar to you as this was also used for the back of the box art as well. And like I alluded earlier, there are artistic elements that are repeated on the inside of the box as well. So let's take a look and reveal this amazing Cobra symbol that awaits you when you remove the slipcover. Now, I was absolutely speechless when I first removed the slipcover and saw this Cobra symbol, and let's take a closer look at some of the elements that make up this symbol. Now, this Cobra symbol has a very earthy and ornate feel to it, and you can see the earthy feel here with the leaf detail around the mouth, and also it just looks like vines are wrapping around the snake head. And the way that was drawn and shaded, it makes it look so intricate, and you could really stare at this for hours just to see all of the detail that Sana has poured into this. And zeroing in at the bottom of the box, you can also get that feel down here where you have a lot more texture, and it looks like there are leaves and vines that are just shrouding this Cobra symbol in all of its greatness. And when looking at the side of the box here, I actually thought that this was a repeated image like we had on the front of the box, but it's actually a different drawing altogether, just very similar looking pose. So let's take a closer look. You can see the snake throne in the background, and it really looks like the snake head is consuming Cobra Commander as he intently stares at his globe in search for world domination. And zeroing closer on the upper part of the art, you can see the snakeskin detail that they've given Cobra Commander on the forearm armor, and you can also see a lot of gold leafing and intricate detail that they've given on the shoulder. And one element that I really am so happy to see is this representation of the stripe that you see on the cartoon version of Cobra Commander. So I love that that is integrated into this art and the figure as well. And here's a switch for you. I have an obligatory crotch shot on the box art, so let's take a closer look at the snake belt armor here. And again, this was very intricately drawn. You can see a lot of the snake skin that she tried to weave into this concept, and the snake looks absolutely amazing. And the way that the armor and the way that Cobra Commander's outfit is drawn is just simply fantastic. And looking at the top of the box, you will also see the Cobra symbol and that very artistic design that you'll see on the top of the box nested with the number 9. And you'll also see that same Cobra symbol represented here at the top of the side of the box. And let's take a closer look at what Cobra Commander is known for. And he is a level 4 leader. He is a level 1 in wielding light weaponry. He is a level 4 in psyops, meaning he loves to play mind games with his foes. And he is a level 4 at coercion. And I love the icon that they've used to represent this here with the hand manipulating the puppet. I think that's so perfect. And I'm going to bring in Cobra Commander's original version of his box just to show you the similarities and differences between the way the icons are represented. Now, similarities are just the general shape and the look of the icons, but as you can see in the Snake Supreme Cobra Commander version, there is so much texturing and so many layering effects that they've given to these icons. It actually makes it look really cool, and they've actually breathed some life into these Cobra symbols because they've given it eyes, a mouth, and they've even put some detail in the upper hood of the Cobra symbol here. Now, I was saving the best part for last, and be careful with this box and opening it because it opens like no other box in the G.I. Joe Classified series line. So let's take a look at this. I mean, this is absolutely stunning and a great way to represent this figure. If you are a collector that does not take their figures out of the box, this is one that I would actually leave in the box because the display on this one is just simply amazing. And zeroing in closer, you can see the art that they've used on the front of the box is actually repeated in the back of Cobra Commander. So if you do display this in box, you're going to get a great visual effect and just an amazing way to display this figure. And now that Cobra Commander's out of the box, he can show you what was behind him, and you can get a more detailed view of the throne, and you can actually see the full throne in the background, which I think is really cool. And apologies for not taking the plastic part out, but I actually didn't want to take that part out. So you're going to have to imagine it gone, but the throne looks really awesome. All right, first I typically start off with looking at the head sculpt, but today let's do something different. Let's start off by looking at his soft goods cape. So let's flip him around and check it out. And as you can see, Cobra Commander's cape has a snakeskin pattern, and it's a soft goods cape, so it flows really nicely and it moves really well. And if you check out the bottom of the cape, it is not stitched at the bottom here, which actually gives it a really nice effect. And as you can see at the bottom of the cape, it flares out, so it gives a lot of options for different poses that you can do with the cape. So you can have one flare in, one flare out, you can turn them around, you can have both flares in, one flare out, and it just increases the displayability of this figure. And at the top of the cape, you can see these gold Cobra emblems, which add a really nice effect to the cape. And since the cape is fitting underneath his armpits, you can actually move these and kind of fit them however you want. So if you want them moved much further to kind of link up with that chain, you can do that. Or if you want to have him wear them off the shoulders, you can do that as well. Now the cape is removable, and what I would recommend is just articulating his arms backwards like that and then just moving them in close so you can just slide the little bands off so you won't stretch them or rip the cape. So now that he's got his cape off, let's take a look at the rest of the figure. And taking a look at his head sculpt, his helmet is contoured very nicely on the top of his head. You can see some grooves here and some sculpting where it just doesn't look like one uniform piece, which is really nice. And you can see some carving detail here where the red paint is. And I love all the little details that they've thrown into this helmet. And the gold detail around his helmet just give the helmet a more regal look, like this Snake Supreme Cobra Commander deserves. And an aspect that I really love about this helmet is that it's not really attached to his head sculpt down here, so it gives the illusion that there are two separate pieces. There is a face shield component and a helmet component, which I think gives the figure a very interesting look, and it's different than any other Cobra Commander that I've seen before because usually the face shield and the helmet are integrated together. I also love the color of gold that they chose for his face shield, and it really complements this gold stripe that he has running down his helmet because that's the stripe that I remember from the G.I. Joe cartoon. So that's the Cobra Commander that I know, and I love that they painted it gold, and they given his face shield a different shade of gold, which actually complements the figure really nicely. And finally, zeroing in on his collar detail here, it looks like there is a little tiny Cobra symbol on his collar, which looks really cool. I don't know if my eyes are playing tricks on me because it's so small that I can't see, but I really love the effect of having a button-like feature on his collar. All right, now there is a lot going on Cobra Commander's torso, so let's take a look at this from top to bottom. And starting at the top, we have his red shoulder loops, which look very nice and tie in with his buttons, as well as his forearm armor, his boots, as well as his sheath for his sword. He also has snake texturing detail on his upper torso about mid-chest up, and with this gold line that's separating it, it really differentiates it from the other part of his uniform. Now, I have to admit, I was pretty blown away that Takeda's art was also printed on Cobra Commander's chest, and it's really intricate, and I'll show you where this art came from because, like I said before, a lot of the art elements on this figure are repeated from elements from the box. So now we're looking at the side of the box and the art that comes on the side and the art that's printed on the front of Cobra Commander's uniform. And I think they're using a portion of this art that's found on the side of the box because you can see a lot of similarities in how the detailing is done. And I think they just reprinted this particular piece on Cobra Commander. I also think the red buttons give a nice effect here and they make some color differentiation so you're not just looking at gold and blue pieces. And I love the Cobra symbol that is dead center on his chest, and it's actually a sculpted piece. It's a raised piece that is not printed, so it has some detail and you can actually feel the detail with your fingers. Now the loop that's running through the Cobra symbol is actually a molded piece that is attached to these red buttons here, and you can take your finger and you can kind of lift it up and you can see that it moves a little bit, and I think this piece is meant to complement the cape, but I actually do like that it's a separate piece and it flows really nicely across the Cobra symbol and it just adds another layer of detail to the chest. All right, and if we turn Cobra Commander around to the back, you have another art piece that is from the side of the box or other box elements, and the way that this was printed on here and the way that the gold is centered around this particular art piece, it actually looks like Cobra Commander's throne as it's printed on his back there. And bringing in the side of the box, you can see where this art came from, and I'm not sure why there's this blue line running down the middle, and it looks like they didn't do the best job lining up this blue line and centering it, but overall I think it makes a really cool effect for a part of the figure that you might not see very much of. And while we're focused on the back, you'll also notice that snakeskin detail that kind of wraps around into the front of his stomach, and it kind of stops there. So if you look at the figure straight on, it kind of looks like a solid blue piece, but you can kind of see where the snakeskin starts and where it ends into his belt. And zooming out, we can take a closer look at his arm sculpt, and I love the red forearm armor here, and this is actually a sculpted on Cobra symbol, and you can feel it with your hands. It's raised, and I love the gold detailing there, and I love this crimson color that they've given Cobra Commander all throughout this figure. You can see some flat texturing there, and this is where his snakeskin starts on his shoulder and kind of bleeds all the way up through his chest. And his right arm is the same as the left, but you can see the sculpting detail here on the forearm armor, and if you turn it over, they've added some more sculpting detail here, and there's no texturing underneath his arm, which I think is okay because he has the snakeskin bleeding into his shoulder on his right arm as well. All right, moving down to his waist area, let's take a look at his belt, and his belt is removable, but I'm not going to take it off, nor do I know how to take it off, so let's just take a look at the detail here. And if you turn around, you can see the holster detail here, and the holster is attached to the belt, and they've given it a really nice sculpt. They've given it some extra clip detail and some extra strap detail, as well as just some chunky parts to just make it look that more regal. You can also see some of the scallop detail that they've added here, and of course they had to add a red Cobra symbol right smack dab in the middle, and I love the red accent here. It just helps break the solid gold piece up. And if we turn the figure to the side and come out a little bit, he's got a sheath that it looks amazing. So it's a gold and crimson sheath, and it's in that same crimson color as his forearm armor and other accents on him, and you can just see the snakeskin detail here, and you can get a peek at the snakeskin detail from his uniform as well. And while we're back down here, we can zoom into some of the art that they've printed on the back where his uniform flares out. And I love that they have two cobras here meeting right in the center, because I think that's the greatest way to frame his uniform down here. And you can also see the snakeskin detail here that's separating the solid blue piece, and right in the middle is that gold detailing, and you can also see it from the front as well. The gold detail really sets off the texturing and all of the colors that are present on this particular figure. The gold detail really sets off the texturing and really differentiates the snakeskin from his solid blue pieces here. And looking at his pants, there's really not much to look at because his boots go all the way up to his knees. So we'll just take a look at this small section of his pants, and we have that solid blue color, and on the sides here we have that snakeskin texturing that's set off in that gold outlining, which makes a really cool effect. And I think I might have found my favorite pair of boots on any of these figures. And these boots look like they have integrated shin armor, and you can see the crimson color here outlined by the gold, and the boot detail is pretty amazing. They've also printed Sana Takeda's art on the side of the boot, which is absolutely amazing. And if you look at his shoe portion, the carving detail here gives his boot a really cool effect, and I love the gold strap that adorns his boot. I just think it goes with the figure so nicely, and it ties in all of the golds and blues and reds all together. And finally, looking at the back of the boots, they have some sculpting detail here which angles down, so it gives the boot a more interesting look from behind. All right, now Cobra Commander does come with a lot of accessories, so let's start off by taking a look at his extra hands. And he does come with a pointy hand so he can make sure that everyone is doing what they're supposed to be doing. And he also comes with a fist so he can express his Cobra Commander rage with his fist and shake it up and down. And he also comes with a snake scepter, which I think is really, really cool. The cobra that is used for this particular scepter is really well done. It's really well sculpted, and I think it's the exact proportions for this particular scepter. So I really love the detail here, and I love that it also has some extra molding and sculpting down at the bottom here. So it looks like you can actually twist this piece off, but you really can't. But overall, I think it looks pretty badass. Next up, let's take a look at his sword, and his sword has a similar effect, although the cobra is a different style of a cobra, and I love the snakeskin detail here, and you can make out the eyes and the mouth and the way that the hood flares over itself. And I really, really like the way that this blade is shaped, and also the red accents that they used to differentiate the top of the sword from the bottom of the sword. And one of the cooler pieces that you'll find in this particular set is this globe. Now, this globe is part of Cobra Commander's quest for world domination. So they actually did a really nice job. You can actually see North America, South America, you can see Africa, and you can also see Australia down here. So they added a lot of detail here to make this look like a very realistic globe. And the last piece that we're going to look at is Cobra Commander's gun, and I love the way that this gun is sculpted because it reminds me of the vintage figure from 1982, and I love the barrel of the gun and the way that's sculpted. You can see all the detail here, and I love the sight at the top, and I love actually that the trigger is very pronounced on this gun and it has a lot of sculpting detail in it. And let's bring in the vintage gun so we can compare the two. All right, and here are both guns, and you can see a lot of the similarities that they have represented here in both of these guns. The barrels look the same, the sights look the same. I think the only main difference is that the handle of the gun is a little bit wider on the new gun, and that's pretty much it. They paid a really nice homage to the vintage style gun here. And here we have Cobra Commander all geared up in his world domination pose. He's got his globe in his hand. He's looking very lovingly at it. And he's got his scepter in his other hand. He also has his sword in his sheath. And he also has his gun in his holster. So overall, this figure looks pretty amazing when he is all geared up. And part of being a leader is coming with a throne that is meant for a king. So let's zoom out here, and I wanted to show you a custom 3D printed throne that I had got in this collection that I bought, and I think the throne really fits this character, and I think the reds are painted in a really nice color, and it really sets off Cobra Commander, and he looks amazing sitting in this throne. So let's take a closer look at the throne. And I think this throne is absolutely amazing, and the 3D printing on it is so cool. It's got a lot of layers and a lot of textures to it, so let's take a look at some of the individual layers and textures. Now the throne comes apart in two pieces, and the pieces just kind of snap together or just go in the grooves, and they settle in pretty nicely. And I really love the way the Cobra symbol was designed. It's designed in a couple of layers here. So we have the inside detail here, which is a lot lower than the outside detail, and I love the way the fangs look as well as the eyes. And I think the symbol and the top of the throne was just integrated very nicely, and you can kind of see the layering effects that I alluded to earlier here. And taking a look at the base of the throne and his seat, I love the sculpting detail here, and I love the two Cobra symbols that are on the right and left sides. Cobra Commander has a platform for his feet, and I love the sculpting detail here, and just the way that this was 3D printed just gives this piece a really cool effect. And if you turn it around to the back, this is where the top kind of rests into the base here, and it's given a platform so the piece won't topple over when you sit Cobra Commander in it. This Snake Supreme version of Cobra Commander is definitely worthy of someone who is determined to rule the world in style. From the soft goods cape, the level of intricate works of art printed on the figure, and the myriad of finely sculpted accessories, I'm thoroughly impressed with the level of detail that was poured into this figure. If you've enjoyed this review, please give it a thumbs up, and remember to subscribe to Toy Habits so you can stay up to date on our latest hot takes.